when the prestigious Roadburn Festival asked him to write and perform a 60-minute set for this year's event, Jona Nido knew he had to do it. Of course, he didn't have the time. As the founder and CEO of Hummus Records and guitarist in Swiss noise rock innovators Kyle Guns, devoting 4 months of his life to writing new material and recruiting a live band would not be easy. The result of these intense writing sessions is Trounce, an avant-garde extreme metal project that captures the wildest imagination of their founders' youthful days as a metalhead. To celebrate the triumphant live show on the 21st of April 2023, Trounce recorded one of the most ambitious albums of the year. If you've not heard The Seven Crowns, you're missing out on a bona fide classic of contemporary extreme metal. Kirk Horton hosts Jona for a track-by-track analysis of the band's debut album. This is a Screen Blast Repeat exclusive interview. Okay, so Trounce, The Seven Crowns, released on the 20th of October this year via your record label, Hummus Records, but it starts as a live commission piece by the Roadburn Festival. You perform it in July, and then you release this studio album, which is quite different to the live album. So the first song on it is called The Seven Sleepers. When I first heard it, I was just thrown off balance by the blast beats and the mystical vocal incantations. And there's like a lot of atonal black metal and then these really barbaric drop tune guitars. Why is this why did you go with this as track number one on the studio album?
Well, the thing is that when I wrote these songs, the demos from these songs, I wrote them like it was an experiment, right? Because it was while I was writing another record, Colgan's record, and to relax from writing this Colgan's record, I decided to buy myself a plugin with a drum machine, so basically, and to tune my guitar even lower because I just got like this. Back then, I just got this super these custom guitars that were, low tuned already, but I wanted to see how low I could tune them, and so I was experimenting with this tuning because not only it's low, but it's also a weird tuning because I'm not such a great guitar player that I can, evolve and develop a great playing through the years. So I found out a couple of years ago that if sometimes every now and then I just tune my guitar like in a weird way, then I don't know where to put my fingers anymore. So the only way to write good music is to kind of be creative. I can't be like faster or anything. Then I don't know where to put my fingers anymore. So that's what I did. And those were the first riffs that came out with this guitar, this tuning, and obviously blast beats, because I never played with a drummer that was able to play blast beats, and it's always been a dream of mine. So I guess that first song I was really looking for something kind of like outrageous, and really straightforward with a lot of blast beats. So that's for the instrumental part. And so it was never chosen as the first song. It was just like, that's the first song I wrote, and that's how we kept it, because it starts with this drum fill, which I think is very cool to start the record. And this first riff is also quite catchy. And with the vocals, I mean, I don't know, maybe you had a question about the vocals, or you wanted to know about the vocals?
Yeah, I mean, so when I heard this record, it almost had like a post-punk gothic type sound, like Jazz Coleman from Killing Joke, but more melodic, or even that the original singer from Christian Death, Roz Williams, really dramatic. There's no like orthodox extreme metal vocals in this. That's what's so strange, because the music's so heavy, and then they're almost like prophecies, or like a demagogue addressing a crowd at times. Well, it's really strange.
You use the word incantations, and we didn't want to be, because we were not it's not a conceptual band, so we didn't want to sound like we're doing rituals or anything. It's also a very fun project for us, mostly. But when Renaud asked me if he could do vocals on the record, I was like, Well, yeah, and I knew what he was doing with his former band called Kruger, if you know them. Really good modern metal band from Switzerland, but they stopped 10 years ago. And I knew he was never like your typical metal singer. And then I told him, well, if you're going to scream, then that's going to sound like a metal record, like just a regular, it's going to be like a good songs maybe, but it's going to sound like a metal record. So why every time you want to scream, just don't. And anytime you can act as a like a drunk noise rock singer, do it. So that combined with his actually post-punk and goth past, because before having metal bands, when he was like, we're talking like 30 years ago, you know, when he was in his early 20s, he would have like goth bands with like eyeliners and stuff. So he's always been into this thing and into singing and stuff, you know. So it was a perfect playground for him, and he fucking nailed it. I think like the vocals are so amazing. Like, hey, he was coming up with these things, and I was like, this is so completely out of space. I would have never thought about putting this melody on this thing, you know. And that really creates like a very true and own identity to this band, I think. Like without the vocals it would be great, but with the vocals it's really bringing it to another level, you know.
Yeah, I've never heard anything like it, that approach vocally to this type of music. So that to me, when I heard the Seven Sleepers, that hooked me in straight away. So when we move on to track number 2, Faith, Hope, Love, that's quite a cynical song title, surely, isn't it? This is not a song that gives off those Christian vibes of faith, hope, and love. What is the what is this song about?
Wow. You know, the thing is that the whole thing is quite cynical, of course, you know, and it's, you know, there's obviously like some true and real information behind it, but it's, I think for Renaud, the goal was to, for him, it was such a game to like write lyrics for such an extreme band with like a very dark imagery and stuff, that he really took a lot of classics, so to speak, you know, like religion oriented and like, you know, the Father and so on and blah, blah, blah. And everything is quite cynical, yeah. But I couldn't like for that maybe, and I don't know if you want to keep going or not, but like if you would like to have more insights, especially on the lyrics, maybe we should do this with Renaud, actually.
Fair enough.
I'm thinking now, yeah, because that's really his thing, and that's not something like he had a complete like free everything on that. So I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about these lyrics, because I don't feel comfortable talking about them, because I'm not sure of what he wanted to say sometimes, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand that, because musically, this is what I wrote down in my notes. Trounce would like to do to blacken death metal what Voivod did to thrash metal in the late 1980s. Do you know that band, Voivod?
Well, I know them, but I've never really, like most of the bands that people quote as an inspiration for Trounce, I either do not know them or never listened really to their record. But Renaud is a big fan of Voivod, for example, that I know.
Vocally, I can tell as well, but musically, there are so many imaginative, what you and NASA are doing, there's so many imaginative chords. It sounds like you're just making these chords up. Like you said, you will deliberately tune it to something you don't really know theoretically what it is, and that'll make you just play a different way. I think that's such an unusual approach to music. I just love that you're even willing to do that. One thing that comes through in these first 2 songs, from a guitar point of view, it sounds like you want to snap the strings of your guitar, because your alternate palm muting is so ferocious. You know, the technique.
Yes, but you know, it's a delicate subject, because like, especially I mean, because I've been editing a lot of the guitars. I mean,
yeah.
So I would need, as I was saying, I would need a lot of like practice to really get to that level of cleanliness, you know. So I know it's very impressive, but I don't want to lie. Like, it's been edited. Like, I've been playing these parts, but I would have been like, so because I recorded all the guitars for the studio album, and I would be like, like punching in a little bit before a part, and then warming up already like this, and then, which is a classic, I guess, but like, I can't take credit for the amazing guitar playing. Where I can take credit is that, because I knew that if this, these songs, especially like the Seven Sleepers, they needed to be edited to have that kind of impact, And the reason that there's a reason we don't play the Seven Sleepers live is that because the rendition would not work in the time frame that we had to play Roadburn. There was no way we could get to that level.
Yeah.
And because when you listen to that song, right? I mean, that's the first song I wanted to play. But in 3 months, there was no way altogether with the lineup there was no way we could achieve like playing that song. So I'm happy that you noticed the snappy guitars, because, those riffs are made to be played like that. And it shows. And if you cannot play them like that live, then I don't want to play them. Yeah,
it's the complete opposite to Coil Guns, your other band, isn't it? Because that, especially that last album, Watchwinders, you really just wanted to capture all the imperfections of being in a rock band. There's no cutting and pasting in Pro Tools on that, is there? The drums sound like they've been recorded in a school assembly hall. But it's it is still technical music you're playing, because I've watched the live videos on YouTube. You're playing some really difficult arpeggios and chords live. I can see that can't be easy to play, those kinds of chord formations.
It is kind of technical, but it's much less technical than Trounce. Trounce is more technical, but in a very academic way, like doing tremolo super fast and being like super precise with everything. With Colgans, it's also a way of playing, of course, and it's kind of technical, but it's not this academical way of being technical, super fast, super precise, super super tight and everything. I mean, we're tight with Colgans, but with Trounce, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Like it's when I was recording guitars and I was listening on my headphones, and when you do this tremolo super fast on one note, then you listen to them on a loop, and then you start hearing like a small noise, and then you realize it's just because you maybe turned your pick for 10 degrees more, and then you have this like that appears when you listen to that 2 seconds part on a loop for like 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then that's when you start becoming crazy. And so I did go very far with the editing, like to make it like, I see, the reamping with makes that those guitars are sounding like great, I think, like kind of like natural sound wise, but what is being played is completely machine like,
Yeah. Because track number 3, Stones, very interesting song. That starts with quite an eerie, terror-inducing arpeggio.
Mm-hmm.
And the vocals are really anguished, almost like a prayer to a dying god. That's what I wrote down. And the drummer loves his blast beats. But do you know, I think this is the closest you come to a death metal song on here. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but Stones, track number 3.
Yeah.
Great. It's only 2 minutes and 37 seconds. What do you remember about recording this, or when you wrote it all those years ago?
Well, I definitely wanted this arpeggio. I wanted this arpeggio to go through. So, because it was very convenient with the tuning, because it's just like empty notes, and it has this like, very anguish feeling, as you said. And then what I had in mind is like the chord progression, which is again like a consequence or a result of this tuning, very low octaves playing to the 2 first strings with like a very like big gap.
Yeah.
That's because that's how most of the guitar work is done on this record. There's this work on octaves that are like this all the time, so it's very demanding on the
that must be hard live, obviously standing up with your guitar and you've got these ridiculous fret stretches.
It's completely
you're putting yourself in pain.
Yes, but see, the goal was to seek like a tone, and no matter, like, it's very geeky, but like when you do this, when I realized I do this in Colgans as well, but with a smaller gap. Um, like when you get your octaves on the two first strings and they're super low tuned, it just sounds, it gives this huge resonance to this one note, and the tone is just specific to that. And I think that's what's coloring a lot of Colgans now, and Trounce as well. And so this, I had this like chord progression, and to me it was a very, it has kind of a, like a, you know, humble in fight feeling, you know, like some kind of like a, you know, knight going to fight and
Yeah.
giving it all, and like head down and not giving a shit, and just being like, I'm just gonna do this, you know, fuck it. And this, I don't know, it felt to me like a very noble thing. I don't know how to say. And then, of course, I wanted the blast beats all the way through.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, because when you get drummers that do blast beats, like super extreme drummers like Axel, who drummed on the record, they use cymbals too much to my taste.
I agree.
And,
yeah, it puts me off that. Yeah.
Very often they use, when they put cymbals, they use also too small cymbals.
Yeah.
And they put too much feel for no reasons.
You can't hear the snare drum, can you, either? You know, in those type of blast beats that you're describing.
Oh, well, if they don't hit, you know, sometimes some of these drummers don't hit, but it's not always the case, of course. But so for the drum recording, especially on that song, but the Seven Sleepers as well, I hired Luc, who's Colgan's drummer and my favorite drummer in the world.
Of course.
And he's also Trounce's live drummer, by the way. And so I hired him to be like a drum coach for Axel. Axel is an excellent drummer. He doesn't need a coach, but I wanted him to use cymbals that were too big, and I wanted him to not hit the cymbals most of the time. So if you listen to Seven Sleepers or Stones, there's barely cymbal hits. So for him, it was quite something, because, you know, he had to play blast beats and never stop, and never like put a hit on the one, or never put a feel that he would naturally do to save some energy, or like to remember where he was. And so this, we call this track the Tunnel of Blast Beats, basically, because it's just a long blast beats for 2 minutes and a half. And I've always wanted to have this thing where you have, you know, it's the same arpeggio forever, and then having these chords that are not played, you know, there's quite some time between each chord. It's very like the very slow played, actually, and then you have blast beats in the back. That was a dream song for me to do.
I'm pleased you said that, because I don't like that. They call it the necro production, don't they, in black metal, the lo-fi blast beats. They really annoy me, where you can just hear that cymbal. They're not even heavy, whereas the ones you've used here, it's more like Dillinger Escape Plan type blast beat, isn't it? Just completely obliterates you. When we move on to track number 4, I am going to confess this song made me laugh. It made me laugh, right? For good reasons. It's like you've played Metallica Kill 'Em All type thrash metal in the lowest guitar tuning ever, and it just sounds so funny, so ridiculous. I think most guitarists would be like, "Oh, I'm just going to play, you know, a riff from Ride the Lightning from 1984, but I'm going to do it in a Meshuggah guitar tuning." It just sounds. When you wrote this, you must have thought, this is just savage. What were you thinking when
I think that's one of my favorite songs, honestly, like in the arrangement and everything. And with this thrash riff at the beginning, it's so funny. It is funny. Yeah. It is absolutely funny. And it was quite a challenge to play this with this tuning, you know, especially because of the triplets you hear on the lower notes. It was such a challenge to play them at this speed. And also even the drumming, Axel played, like if you listen to the first riff, the end of the first riff has some a drumming that I programmed. It was just too fast, and I was like, "Me, that's never going to be playable." And actually, on the guitar, it's not really playable, to be fairly honest, either. But Axel still pulled it off for some reasons, you know. So it sounds even more ridiculous to me, knowing that I programmed drums that I thought were impossible to play, maybe because I don't know what's possible to play or not. But then he did it, and then every time I listen to this song with like also the construction of the lyrics, you know, with like the first rider, the first creature comes, and this dialogue that Renaud has with him, and all that is so cheesy and funny at the same time, you know. And he's talking about black riders and the altar and blah blah, with this super epic vocals on this super low tuned riff. It's an hilarious song, but at the same time, it's one of the catchiest songs on the record, you know. I think
certainly there's a lyric video, isn't there, for this?
Codex has a lyric video.
I was watching it today. Yeah, it is catchy the way he sings it. It's when I did my review, because I don't know if you've seen the video. We gave this album of the week on Screen Blast Repeat.
Oh, but you didn't write a review? I have the feeling I saw a review that you wrote. No?
Yeah. Well, there's a video as well, so it has all the images in. And on this, I said it's like a cross between. There's this English doom metal band called Conan, which they're just filthy. It's like, do you know that band?
Yeah, Luke's been playing with them every now and then.
Oh, is he? Yeah. Cool. Well, it sounded to me like Metallica, Conan, and Captain Beefheart all jamming together. It's like, it is such a strange song. Please, go and listen to this song. Track number 4, Codex. It's hilarious. It's just too heavy to be taken seriously. Does that make sense?
It does make absolute sense. It's exactly what I meant with like this end part of the drumming being impossible, and then this like super big mosh part, and then this crazy cheesy harmonized guitar parts with these vocals, and you're like, what the fuck am I listening to? Seriously? Like, no, dude, I totally feel you. Like, it's, to me it was, again, like also the riffs were really like, the main riff really reminded me of like when in the early 2000s I was listening to like the early metalcore thing, but just faster and lower tuned and just darker. But it's an hilarious song.
Filthy song, and we mean that in a good way. Track number 5, The Goose and the Swan. Great song title, I must say. So what have I put here? Neurotic blackened death metal. The vocals leave you transfixed, as if in the presence of a demagogue that wins your sympathy and makes you do things you wouldn't normally do. Like you lose control of your morality, I think I'm trying to say. What directions did you give to Renaud when you presented him with this song? Because you said he had free license on many areas, but you still said to him, when you want to scream, don't, and let's see what happens. So can you remember what you said to him about this song?
Well, the brief was the same for all the songs. Like I really didn't go song after song. It's him who was sending me demos of his vocals, song after songs. And this is one of them where he felt like screaming was, legit, or growling, or whatever you call it. And so I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I would have I didn't imagine where he did put vocals. That's not where I imagined he would do. Like the way he thought the choruses and verses on this track was completely the opposite of what I was imagining. So, like when it kicks in with the first, that first riff, so that first riff instrumental, then we go into this like melody, which for me was the chorus, but for him, no, which for him was the verse, with this weird like it sounds really like he's drunk trying to say something that doesn't work, Then it goes into what he calls the choruses, which are the verses for me, where he grunts basically. And then there's this bridge part, which I didn't have any expectations, because I'm always been sensitive to clean vocals. Like when I want to listen to clean vocals and choruses where people are like, ooh, and all that, I listen to Lana Del Rey, which I'm a huge fan, or I listen to mostly female vocal, like pop bands or that kind of things. Like I don't really like the super clean vocals into heavy music. And then he came up with that chorus, with that bridge, like super epic, with this chorus, like with like choir in the back and all that. And I was like, hey, this is too much. And then I remembered I've put like the cheesiest guitar solo afterwards, and I was like, no, this is perfect. This gives it's a really like when after listening to the first 4 songs and you're like, okay, that's a weird band, but I can, it's weird, but at least, yeah, they're not going over the top with the cheesiness, and then you get this song which is very catchy and very cool. I think all the other parts in this one, and then you get to this part which we call, like, within the band we call it the Disney part.
The Disney part.
Yeah, because it's so epic and it's so, but it's one of our favorites from all of us, and live as well, because that song we play live. And I was so surprised, and it came and resonated with the 20 years old that that wanted to have this band, because I used to like this kind of vocals into a heavy setting, and now to have my own band having this part, I think it's a very strong part on the record. Yeah.
So track number 6, The Crippled Saint, exactly 4 minutes in length. A bit of, again, I can sense like an atonal black metal approach. But man, Reno on this, he sounds like a prophet talking about the end of days, that the apocalypse is coming, and he's warning people. I don't know what the lyrics are about. He's like a maniac on this. And again, though, even though you've never listened to the band Voivod, their 1987 album Killing Technologies, you've got like a similar chaos going on to them. It's really complex, but at the same time, it sounds like it's going to break. There's so much noise, so much energy crashing around that you wouldn't be surprised if this song just breaks like an engine in a car, just stops running. And I just love how you do that. So we already know that the songs are just put in the order that you wrote them. Can you remember how many years ago? When did you write the outlines of what became The Crippled Saint? Are we talking 2010, 2005, 2015?
No, it was 2020.
So this one you did write from scratch then? This song you wrote from this was a new song?
Oh no, I mean the whole record was written in like all these songs were written in 2020, one after another, like in 3 months.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So I know you had a collection of riffs then, didn't you, from years before, and you started writing these into songs? No,
that was not it. Like when I said that I was going back to my black metal, it's just like at one point I just wanted to write songs and thinking of Dark Funeral, but I didn't have any riff written.
Wow. So this is even more of an achievement then for a 60-minute album, 4-month deadline to have it ready for the Roadburn Festival. I thought that you'd like had these old demos and you just thought, I'm going to bring these to life. So no, everything was.
Wait, are we talking about the studio or the live album now? Are we in the studio?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I should explain to the viewers. There is a difference, isn't there? Obviously the live album as well in the track listing. What became the studio album? So if we use this as an example, The Crippled Saint, this is something you just created in 2020 then. Is that correct?
The studio album, like all the tracks and demos, were written in 2020. Yeah.
Okay, right. That makes sense now. I think I misunderstood, didn't I, when we were talking in another piece about that?
Sorry.
No need to apologize. No, it's fine, because that is a bit more logical now, because I was thinking, well, it just makes it even more admirable that you were able to write something so epic. You've really pushed yourself as a musician, haven't you, I think, on this album?
Yeah, well, so something I've never done yet. That's true. Like pushing myself so much and being alone in the command of everything,
Yeah.
So I really like, what happened is that I was writing this Colgan's record in 2020 and it was full lockdown. And to chill, I was just playing guitar on blast beats, and I realized that it was very kind of like easy for me in that setting to do these songs. And that's how I wrote The Seventh Sleeper, and then the next song, Faith, Hope, and Love, and then Stones, and then Codex, and then Goose and Swan, and then The Crippled Saint. And that's the track listing of the studio album is how I wrote these songs, and they never changed. Like the length of the song and the riffs in them has never changed since the first time I wrote them. When I was finishing a song, I never went back to it. It took me 2 days to go back and forth on some stuff. Then it was done. And then we basically recorded drums 3 years later on these exact same riffs, the way I recorded them 3 years ago.
What I'm interested in that approach. Why did you not want to change them? Was it a case of you enjoyed it, that intense 2 days of writing each song? You enjoyed it so much, you just thought, why bother changing anything? That is why the way I was feeling at the time. Why did you go for that approach?
Because I think while I was writing those Colgans track, I started to have like, and after the last 2 Colgans album, I started to have like a very precise idea of how I wanted a song to be constructed, or how a song seemed to be listenable and understandable by everyone in its form, right? So instead of like torturing myself with like crazy riffs that, I mean, there are some crazy riffs or cool riffs, but once I had a good intro and a chorus and a verse, then I just needed like a third part, and then you can go for a mirror shaped song and just do the opposite of, you do a first sequence, then some weird riff in the middle, and then you do the same sequence but backwards, and then you have a song. Why bother more, And or I was just going for the intro, A B A B C A B, outro, and for that you need 3-4 riffs. In the end, there's not many more riffs per songs, and I thought it was very cool and it was very efficient and I felt great, so I didn't feel the need to go further. And what's interesting is that in the end, that's also why Renaud was able to like pull off these vocals, I guess, because it was he never played in such an extreme band, but he could feel it, because it's, I don't know, because the shape of these songs is quite easy. It's an easy form of songs.
Interesting. It's almost like DIY punk mentality. You just like, hey, no, let's just leave it as it is. Can I just say for our viewers, do not misinterpret what Jona said. There is nothing lazy about these songs. They're so unpredictable. Even though there are verses and choruses at times, I think because there's so much chaos, some listeners might not even identify that there's a chorus. So there's definitely no jaded songwriting in this. This is really high levels of complexity at times, but yeah, the structures are there, aren't they? Track number 7, Silene. I just put, what is going on here? Because this is such a strange song. You've got like heavy palm muted guitars. Do you know that band Gorguts, that Canadian avant-garde band? Have you ever heard them?
Well, I've heard of them, especially because there was these Canadian bands that I loved, like Iron Dissonance and stuff, that have been very influenced by Gorguts. Yeah.
God, how underrated are they? Iron Dissonance, what a great band. You just don't hear
fucking
their name
amazing. Now. No, they're done for a long time. But there's this guy. Do you know this band called Nightmare?
Nightmare or Nightmare?
Nightmare.
I'm not sure I do. Are they from Quebec as well?
No, they're from the guy is German. He used to be in this band called War from a Harlot's Mouth, if I pronounce it
I know that name.
And that guy moved to the US and he started a label called Total Dissonance Worship, which you should check out. I guess you would like a lot of things. And he's been re-releasing, and his favorite band, he used to be a friend when he was living in Berlin, and I used to play in a band called The Ocean, which is based in Berlin.
Very famous band, The Ocean Collective. I should let our viewers know that you played in this great band. Yeah,
for a few years, and that's how I met this guy. And we had this in common because my very first band was very influenced by Iron Dissonance, and he was a huge fan of Iron Dissonance. Yeah. And he started the label in the hope of re-releasing music from Iron Dissonance. Right. And now he just released, like a few days ago, I think he released either Breathing is Irrelevant or Solace from Iron Dissonance. Like, he remixed it and everything. Yeah. So so that's, sorry, digressions.
What a blast from the past.
That's how I know. How I know about Gorguts. But yeah, Iron Dissonance. Fuck, man.
Yeah, what a band. Because, sorry, we'll stay on this tangent. We've got a band here in Britain, in Scotland, called Frontiera,
Yeah, of course.
I think there you can hear like ion dissonance in their music.
I agree. Yeah.
And Carbomb and bands like that. But yeah, Silene, there's some really interesting guitar work in there. And Nasser, the other guitar player, who one of you's playing these chugging down tune riffs, and the other one's playing these dissonant arpeggios. Well, do you play this live, this song?
No, we don't.
No, okay.
No, fuck no. No, Luke could not play this one on drums, that's for sure. But also, just to correct you real quick, if I may, like on the record, Nasser didn't play at all. Right. Nasser is only playing on in the live setting
for the live band.
So, but there are these different parts, and this song is super weird.
Yeah,
God, it's so weird. Especially the vocals when that song starts again. Like I didn't expect the vocals to start. Like the song actually starts with vocals. There's a small intro, but then the vocals are launching this like pan muted thing, riff, and I think this song has to be one of my favorite songs. I think it's so crushing and so weird, and I just love it. But yeah, it's kind of an alien song on this record, and that's quite something to say because it goes every fucking way possible.
I think it's funny that you're the creator of this song, and even you're calling it weird as if you don't understand it.
No, I mean,
that's what's great about it.
When I had my head into it, but now I should even like, if I would listen to it, I would even be surprised probably by the different parts coming, because I haven't listened to this record in like a couple of months now, so I would probably be surprised by what's happening. Like I'm trying now to remember the parts, and I can't go around all of them now in my head.
Yeah.
But that's a super cool song, yeah, and the drumming is absolutely fantastic on it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Track number 8, Death of the Good Men. I can hear Reynard's post-punk gothic roots in this, in his vocal approach. And I think it's very easy to identify the verse parts in this song. We've been talking about if you can somehow see beyond the chaos that's ripping the flesh off your face, there is structure here. With this, what were you when you wrote this, say you did this in 2 days, how spontaneous is it writing music like this song, Death of the Good Men?
So that song especially has probably taken half a day, because it's such a straightforward song with like 2 riffs, and it's just, in French we say bête and stupid, and bête et stupide, which means mean and stupid.
Right.
It's very straightforward. It's like it's the one song that doesn't go every way, I think, on the record, which has a very, very clear structure with like kind of like intro, then you can identify pretty clearly the chorus or the verse, one of the other, but you realize there are these 2 distinctive parts that are coming back several times. And it's very, I felt like doing a song that was kind of like a cliche song, I would say, somehow. Yeah. Instrumentally, at least, a cliche from this black metal from the early 2000s. Like this is really a Dark Funeral song for me.
You think this is when you showed this to Luke, is this an easy song for him, do you think, to play drums to?
No.
To
Axel, yes, the studio drummer.
Yeah.
Not easy, but that's something he can do. But Luke, he cannot do that. That's not at all. So, but I would. Plus, that's not a song I would play live. Like to me, it's a good. I consider this song as a filler more.
You don't mean that in a bad way, do you? You don't mean, no. I wasn't trying on this. You're just saying it's a transition song to track number 9, which really is the avant-garde metal song on the album. I'm talking about The Circus. This just stood out for me because at the beginning, you can dance to this. You can actually dance as if you're at the circus. It's very sinister, but it's fun, isn't it? But then you really inject, you almost like molest the song with these crazy drop F tuned guitars. I don't think I've ever heard anyone do that with a song that's like got a sultry 1980s goth vibe to it. It's just so strange. And when I reviewed it, I said it's like Venom with that band KO Dot. I bet you like KO Dot, don't you?
Uh,
Are you familiar with them?
I'm not familiar.
I think you'd really like that. If they were European, they'd be signed to Hummus Records, put it that way. And it's just, I just could listen to this all the time. There's a lot of the coil guns in this song, surprisingly, I thought.
Hey, you know what? Actually, when I wrote it, because that's the only down-tempo song on the whole record, and since I was writing the Colgans record at the same time, and then I had this song, and I remember that I pitched it to the Colgans guys, and they were like, no. So I was like, fuck off. Then I'm gonna keep it for Trounce. But I did have the feeling that it could be a Colgan song as well.
Yeah.
But eventually it didn't happen. But the cool thing is that that's definitely one song that we play live now with Trounce, and we do all dance when we play this song. It's a very dancey song, absolutely, and it has a very kind of like sympathetic noise rock vibe, but sinister. I like the way you described it. Like it's very about molesting this song and like making it a sinister circus. Yeah, it's really cool. Like the way you describe it is perfect for the viewers. Yeah, I think
so. This probably didn't have a song title, and Renault's heard this, and it's clearly reminded him of a carnival of a circus. Is that how it got?
Exactly. Yeah. All the titles. I didn't have any titles for.
No.
I had the album title, the band name, but no track titles. Yeah, no song titles.
That's what's interesting, isn't it? His imagination. He's heard the music, and like this one, obviously, he's just thinking, "I feel like I'm at a circus." And
this guy, he's a brilliant person, and obviously he's a brilliant person in general, and I guess that's his way of feeling the music and like the words. It's like, but like you describing the music, that resonates a lot with me, So if you find the right people, then they're gonna find the right song titles, and they're gonna disguise that in a very serious matter with lyrics. But then when you talk to them, he's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, it just sounded like a weird horror circus with people that have no legs, or something like that, and which makes sense."
Yeah.
I can like when he came up with the circus for this song, I was like, yes. And for him, I know that this song the chorus has this riff that is very very basic, the dun 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 dun. So every time we play this, he's like, "Oh, that sounds like bro music," he's just like do do do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to discredit him. I mean, it's very cool that he thought of this title, but the thought behind the thinking behind it sometimes is super. It's kind of stupid sometimes, or just like very colorful, let's say.
Yeah, colorful. I think rather than use the word abstract, I think colorful is a good way of describing it. Because when we go on to track number 10, Walls, do you play this song live?
We do, actually. That's the crazy thing. That's the track we play live.
This must be difficult to play live.
Yes.
Track number 10.
I guess this one could be called the circus as well, but like the circus of terror or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's such a weird song as well. But it has this catchy chorus,
Yeah,
kind of. And the ending particularly is very good. That's how we end the live set, actually. That's not the last song on the studio record, but that's how we end the live show. That song was really weird. To me, like, I think I described it once as something like a fried marshmallow with goat cheese, drawn into honey with beefsteak or something. It's like, it's a song you don't know where to go with it. The riffs are weird. The time signature don't exist really. The vocals are weird. There's some like kind of like convergy parts, but then it goes into a super epic chorus, but with black metal guitars in the back. And then at the end, you have some more death metal, super low tune death metal riffs. I don't know, but I thought that was very egoistic of me. I wanted to, that was very selfish. Sorry. I really wanted to play that song live, even if it confuses people.
Yeah. I wonder what you said Leah Martinez has a different background. Is she in that band, Iwe? How would you pronounce it? YRRE. You know, the band that is signed to your
No, she's not.
Which members of the live band are in that band?
There's Nasser, the guitar player,
right.
and Anna, who's
that's
who's
it.
doing she's doing all the noise, weird noise stuff live.
I wonder what Leah Martinez thinks of a song like Walls when you showed it to her, because obviously this isn't the type of music she normally performed.
Well, you definitely have the eye or whatever to pinpoint on those things, because like when I told you, when we talked earlier, and I told you that there were some moments where I felt under pressure and where it was hard for me to see people struggling with the learning the songs. Walls was one of them, and specifically with Leah, because she had to work so hard, and now that she's absorbed everything, she's just dancing all the time when she's playing these things. But before that, like when we were rehearsing the first month, she couldn't get it right with this one, and she had to count all the time, and I felt like she was not working enough. So and I didn't want to, these people, like the people I worked with, they were kind enough to accept to dedicate 3 months of their life to this. So I didn't want to be too pushy, but then I started like feeling a little bit scared of the results. So I had to tell her, I was like, what's going on, and we had to really work our way through, and especially Leah for this song. And but I also realized during that same rehearsal that she had a hard time counting bars on some stuff, and I was like, well, like what's the problem exactly? Like what is going on with the with the beats that you don't understand? And she was like, well, I've just never played in any band that were playing these kind of beats, and we're talking about blast beats and D beats and all these beats. And she was like, I just don't know how to play on this. First of all, I don't know how to play a synth, but then I don't know how to play on these beats. I don't know how to count them. And then I realized that that it was actually going to take a little bit of time, but she nailed it, eventually. And now she's super comfortable with playing all these things. But Waltz has been a really big thing. Like the first 2 months of rehearsal, it was terrible.
So her answer really is, why can you not get with this? Her answer is, because you've given me an off-meter metal song to learn.
Pretty much.
The answer. It's not natural. It's not instinctive to
nothing is natural about this song anyway. And then of course I think it was actually okay for me to ask Leah to be working a bit more. That's when she also realized how much pressure I was taking and how important this was. And maybe in the first month it wasn't obvious, but that song was really hard for everyone actually to remember and to play. But now it's it's the I wouldn't say it's the peak of the set, but it's the last song. Like we all build up to this song, and when we get to it, especially the end, it goes crazy.
It's a triumph. So we come on to the last song, The Wheel, track number 11, 5 minutes long. Starts off really heavy. This really obliterates the listener, doesn't it? Ferocious, menacing black metal. It's almost like your life flashes before your eyes, and someone's about to hold a gun to your head, and you just don't know where they're going to come from. I felt really paranoid listening to this song.
Okay.
But there's also like a leap into this like really catchy goose-stepping groove metal around the 2-minute mark.
Oh yeah,
I love that riff. Obviously you do. You wrote it. Yeah,
of course. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, that's it. That just stands out for me. I just didn't know this was so unpredictable, this song. I think it's because it's so fast, there's so much aggression. It's hard to if I listen back to it, I'd probably be able to identify a more conventional structure. Is there a conventional structure to this, I guess, is my question.
Super, super, super conventional. Yeah.
I couldn't, because it's so heavy.
Well, I mean, you have this first part which features like a very c'est ça, very like kind of like classic melodic black metal, I would say, somehow, the very beginning. Then there's this kind of chorus, which is very epic black metal, like a bit too much, even, like quite cheesy, actually. And so, you know, it goes back and forth between these two parts that are pretty easy to identify. And then somehow we go into a weird arpeggio part with a blast beats, but more of a, you know, less aggressive but more meditative, contemplative or something, blast beats with like a very, again, like we like with Nasser to use this term, it's like with a very noble arpeggio. It's a very very eerie, but still like not atonal, but kind of like dissonant, but not too much. It's kind of like some kind of like weird beauty, but weird, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when things are like turning to shit, you know, like going to shit, because there's this thing and then it goes into this like super crushingly heavy part, which is, to me, like I thought, like, maybe as just in my head, but like when I introduced the songs to the guys, and I was like, we need to play this song because I think this is the heaviest riff I've ever written. Seriously, like I wanted to play this live, like really. And yeah, so there's this middle part which is kind of weird, but then it goes back again to the same parts as the very beginning. So I think if you listen to it, you recognize that it's like a mirror-shaped song, basically.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to listen to it now with that in mind. I think I was distracted by how monstrously heavy it was, this song, and I've listened to this like a good 7 or 8 times.
But it's funny, like, is it that main riff that does this?
I don't know what it is. I think it's because it's here in the first sentence. I remember when I put "good idea" to finish on a note of impending obliteration with a ferocious attack of menacing black metal. And then I've talked about like the impact it had on me. You know, where I said like I feel like life's flashing before my eyes, and there's a marksman, an assassin out there. He's like, where is he? Someone's going to blow my head off. Where's it coming from? It's a really strange way of describing it. I apologize.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's, you know, it's surprising indeed, because I think it's a very melodic song, actually. I would go with obliterating as well, but definitely super melodic. So and that's one of the few moments that features like most D beats that are there are a few D beats on the record.
Yeah.
And they feature generally like some more noisy riffs, you know. But this one is really like a very old school melodic black metal feel to it. So I'm surprised that you saw this very like just heavy stuff. So I'm looking forward that you listen to it again, see if you still have that feeling with that in mind.
I'm gonna have to rediscover this song, aren't I? By the way, I did give it an 8 out of 10 in my internal notes, as I did. I think
Thank you very much.
For every song on here, it's rare when I go through. I know artists, you don't like us giving scores to songs.
Yeah,
so, but
okay.
For readers, sometimes they're just going to go to the bottom of the review and just think, what score did you give it? Then they'll read it. So every song on here, this is rare, I gave an 8 out of 10 to. So really, it should have probably been a 9 out of 10 review for Scream Blast Repeat as an overall. So consistently excellent. So thank you very much for joining us, Jona. I know you've got a concert tomorrow on the 2nd of December. When this goes out, you'll have already played that concert. Any final things you'd like to say to Coil Guns fans who haven't heard this, or anyone who listens to experimental metal who's got no idea about Hummus Records, Coil Guns, or Trounce? Anything you'd like to say, maybe to get them intrigued?
Oh, wow. That's a lot of pressure, man.
Yeah.
Shit. Well, if you like your extreme metal weird and more rocky than you would expect, then listen to Trounce and Colgans, I guess. I don't know. Oh god, that was weird. I wasn't prepared. No, yeah, you know what, like let's put it this way, like what we like to call our record label, because it's a record label that we run as Colgans as well, we like to call it home of the weird. So yeah, you can find music from extreme metal, from super crazy cool black metal bands to delicate lo-fi folk artists that are also playing in the super crazy black metal band.
Yeah.
So if you're open-minded and if you like genuine, you know, and like music with substance, let's say, like you might want to check that label out, that record label out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of Europe's premier avant-garde experimental extreme, even though you've obviously got a wide range. Hummus Records, yeah, I agree. I mean, now when anything comes into my inbox, I will review it if it comes from Hummus, because I like that band Rorkel, don't I? So yeah, excellent. Really love what you're doing. Thank you for this album, one of the great discoveries of 2023 for me. And it's been an absolute pleasure to do behind the album for Trounce. Absolutely fantastic record. Thank you very much for your time.